Clemson and Kentucky will play in the Gator Bowl at noon this Friday, December 29th. And it feels like this game is almost snuck up on us, even though we've had, a month pretty much of waiting since Clemson beat South Carolina in the Palmetto Bowl. But December in college football nowadays is wild. You have, obviously the early signing period, which, they did a poor job picking the dates because that's essentially the signing period now. Clemson signed a 22 person class. Everyone that they had committed, plus they added 2 offensive linemen late. So that was, a big focus and deservingly so. Coaching changes with Matt Luke at offensive line, Chris Rumpf at defensive end, so changes there. And then we had guys leaving in the portal. There was 4 offers, although they didn't come to Clemson. Clemson was active in the portal, I won't say for the first time, but maybe for the second time where they've been serious about it. And then, of course, Florida State bringing a lawsuit against the ACC. And I read that lawsuit, and I think they make some very legitimate points, particularly from 2028 onward and the viability and the legal standing of the grant of rights after that point. So a lot of news in December. And here we are in this Gator Bowl game. It feels like we're already in the 2024 season. We got one last look or one last game for the 2023 season. And, the way college football is now, if it's not a playoff bowl, and this will be more true next year, if it's not a playoff bowl, then the rest are almost kind of like spring games where you're really watching to learn about next season in a way similar to how you watch a spring game. Now, you definitely want, if you're Clemson, you definitely want to end the season on a 5-game win streak, bring a lot of that momentum into next season. So winning is still goal number 1, but this is going to be a team thinned out by opt-outs, Trotter, Ruke Orhorhoro, Nate Wiggins, they're all, they won't be playing. Sheridan Jones and Jaden Lucas are injured and they won't play. Angel Mukuba just transferred out. Beaux Collins transferred out. So this is going to be a skeleton crew, at least on defense. But I think there's a couple things that'll actually allow us to learn more about next season. So obviously you want to win the game, but because of that situation, definitely some things we can learn that'll make this game a little bit more interesting than it otherwise would have been. Before I jump into it, I just want to remind you, if you're not already subscribed to this channel, please go ahead and scroll down and click subscribe. It really helps the channel grow, and I really appreciate it. Thanks to everyone who's already done that. All right. First thing I'm really watching for, we'll start here. Can the defensive tackles stop the run without Ruke? So Ruke Orhorhoro is off to the NFL. He's opted out. Now, Peter Woods will just fill in, and they'll be fine, right? But that does mean they'll go deeper on the depth chart. And what's interesting is I thought that defensive end would be the number 1 spot they look for in the transfer portal. Instead, and again, they didn't land anyone, but they were seemingly fairly serious about getting a portal offensive lineman. I think they will reassess and realize the portal is really just for guys who want to come in and start immediately. You're not going to grab a guy almost like his previous team was a red shirt and just plug him into your system and develop him that way. It's not really what it's for. I think they learned that. But regardless, they didn't really look at defensive end. And when asked about it, Coach Sweeney basically said, there's no one as good as Peter Woods in the portal defensive end, so why bother? So it sounds like TJ Parker, Peter Woods could be the starters, which means you're not only losing your 2 starting defensive tackles, but you're also losing Peter Woods, who you're moving to defensive end. That means Payton Page, Demonte, Capehart are possibly your starters next year. They're going to go. They should get extended play. I mean, I think Peter Woods will likely start a defensive tackle, but we should see more of those 2 in this game. And they'll be going up against Kentucky's all-SEC running back, Ray Davis. Ray Davis has 1,066 yards on the year, 5.7 yards per carry, 13 touchdowns. Tyler Davis is expected to play, and he's awesome. He'll go a long way in helping. But when we see Page and Capehart on the field, how well do they perform against a really, really good rushing attack, a really good running back? Flip side on offense, what's this passing offense going to look like? The Clemson's passing offense has not been good. Just 62nd nationally in passing offense in yards per play or yards per game at 225. Yards per attempt is only 6.42 yards per pass attempt, so not good. But Kentucky's passing defense has been pretty bad. They rank 88th, allowing 238.5 yards per game. So there's a weakness there. They're giving up 7.36 yards per attempt. So one of the big things to watch for, can Clemson take advantage? Can they hit, let's say, 240 passing yards and beat the average, beat their average by a lot and beat the average that Kentucky's been giving up? Can they take advantage of a mediocre pass defense, right? And then, Clemson lost Beaux Collins to the transfer portal. He's off to Notre Dame. He was their second leading receiver at 510 passing yards on the year. Tyler Brown's healthy. He had 519. You're getting Antonio Williams back, who's missed basically most of the season with injury. How good could that duo be? That's the duo that is good. They're going to be back next season. How good could they be? Neither of them are really outside guys, not really boundary guys at least, but can that power this offense, this passing game? You're going to get some reinforcements next year. Cole Turner will be healthy, back from his injury. You'll get two freshmen and Bryant Wesco and TJ Moore, who you're hoping can plug in and make an immediate impact. And I think you need at least one of them too. I think you'll probably get one of them too. But the two guys are kind of your stalwarts. How good can they look? It would go a long way in building optimism if at least one, if not both of them, can really go off in this game. I also want to see Adam Randall and Troy Stellato. I'm a big Stellato fan. Can he kind of solidify himself as having a role next season, kind of end on a high note? What about Adam Randall? He's been really quiet. You see a flash every now and then, but he was a guy who was hyped just so much before the season. I asked on X, will Clemson have a 1,000-yard receiver? A lot of people said Beaux Collins. He was 490 yards short. Others said Adam Randall, and he's practically 1,000 yards short of 1,000. I mean, he was a very much non-factor, just a few big plays in the entire year. Can he give you a reason to get excited about him next year? Will he have a big role next year? I thought maybe he would be a guy who considers transferring, but I don't think it's a lack of opportunity that it's his problem. Would be really encouraging to see him end a disappointing season on a high note. So seeing Clemson's passing offense take advantage of a mediocre pass defense would be really exciting. Last thing before we get into it, if you haven't already, please like this video. It just helps with the algorithm, helps it grow. So last season, Clemson's passing offense was not good. This season, it's been excellent. It's an incredible rebound. They are now, so far this season, they are 5th nationally in pass defense in terms of yards per game allowed through the air. Only 154 yards per game passing allowed. That's pretty incredible, and even more impressive, only 5.22 yards per pass attempt allowed. So this is a really elite pass defense. But Bakuba, as I mentioned, he's transferred to Texas. Wiggins has opted out. He'll be probably a top 15, top 20 pick. He'll be one of the top 2 cornerbacks taken. Him and Kool-Aid McKinstry from Alabama are the top 2 on the most recent board I've seen. Sheridan Jones is gone after this year. He's also hurt, so he's not going to play. Toriano Pride was kind of like the 4th or even 5th or 6th. He was kind of a depth cornerback by the end of the year, but I thought it was decent, and he's off to Missouri, so he's not going to play. So you're going to see the young guys who played so well against South Carolina. You're going to see a lot of these young guys in that role again, and it's kind of a preview to what the secondary will be next season. So Avion Terrell and Shelton Lewis are your starting cornerbacks. Very, very little depth behind them, at least now in the bowl, because Jane Lucas is hurt. Maybe we see Miles Oliver. He was a redshirt freshman this year, so next year is his 3rd year in the program. You really like to see him be at least a depth contributor. Maybe we get a little preview of him in this game. And then Khalil Barnes, Kylon Griffin, those guys could potentially start next year. And then one guy who's certainly not a new guy, but RJ Mickens will return for his 5th season. I'm a huge RJ Mickens fan. I think he's very underrated member of the secondary. I think he's going to be a big steadying influence, a valuable contributor next year. So he'll be kind of like the star safety now and next year. So getting another look at him will be fun. A couple other things to preview this game. Let me go up here. So I was going through the stats, and I found this really interesting. I'm looking at rushing offense, and Clemson's 36th. These are yards per game stats. Clemson's 36th at 180 yards per game. Kentucky's only 94th, only 131 yards per game. That seemed odd because I knew Ray Davis was such a good running back. And they have Devin Leary at quarterback. But when I looked at the passing offense, Clemson is 62nd and Kentucky's 93rd. And Clemson is better on defense. That's not a fluke or anything. They're 7th on yards in total defense. Clemson 7th, Kentucky's 48th, and that's on a yards per play basis. Clemson is 4.48 yards per play allowed compared to Kentucky, who is allowing 5.29. Not terrible, but not as good on defense. So first thought is, wow, Clemson's way better. I'm surprised Kentucky is even 7-5, but something seemed off. So I looked a little deeper. In terms of tempo, yards, or not yards, but actual plays per game, Clemson's 6th. Kentucky's 133rd. So that's the slowest in all of college football, or all of FBS college football, only 56 plays per game. So they're really going to slow it down. You really got to look at their stats on a per carry, a per attempt kind of basis, because they're just going to have fewer plays. So I'm interested, is this going to be a game where it really turns into a slog and they're running clock, and you blink and the first half is over and you've only had a few drives? That seems like what they want to do, is pound the ball with Ray Davis, maybe have a little bit of bend but don't break defense, a timely turnover. So we really need to see Cade Klubnik make smart decisions, do what the coaches actually tell him to do. Running backs can't have fumbles. I mean, that was a huge problem earlier in the year. It's gotten a lot better. It needs to stay a lot better. This could be a low possession game. I looked at the over-under and the spread. It's 46.5 points is the over-under. It's spread at 5.5. That brings you to an implied score of 26-ish, basically 26-21 Clemson win. I think that's very viable. My hope is that Clemson is a little bit more dynamic on offense than that and can win something like 31-21 kind of thing. I think with the opt-outs and stuff on defense, holding them under 21 might be tough, but 31-21, I'd be very happy. Obviously, you have to see how the game flow is, but I think that's an outcome Clemson fans should be really happy about. What I think will happen is I think this is much more of a toss-up with all those opt-outs on defense. I think we have, I've been extremely critical of Beaux Collins, more so the role that Clemson trusted him to fill as the number one outside wide receiver. But he was second leading receiver on the team. With Cole Turner hurt and these freshmen on here, I don't know where you're going to look on the outside in this game. So I think there's going to be some challenges on offense. I hope it's more like 31-21, but I think this game's more of a toss-up with the slow pace they like to play. This could be kind of like the Palmetto Bowl, where it's a little bit of a slog, but I will still pick Clemson to win 23-21, a real low-scoring kind of slog of a game. So that's my pick for this game. Before I wrap this video, a couple thoughts on Clemson basketball, if you'll hang with me. Clemson plays same day as the football teams. The football team's at noon on Friday, and then the basketball team's in action at home against Radford. Radford, not a big name, obviously, but they're 10-4, and they just beat West Virginia on the road. So not something you want to overlook. This is Clemson's last non-conference game. They played the one ACC game against Pitt, which they always kind of, ACC likes to work it in really early, that one conference game. But basically, conference play starts after this game. The thing I want to see is Chase Hunter look comfortable. He's a great player, and he is extremely important to Clemson. And right now, he's even more important because Alex Hemingway and Jack Clark have been out. So there's a little thin in terms of reserves on the perimeter. So if Chase Hunter struggles, they don't have a whole lot. Like, he's just got to play through it and work through it. He had 15 points against Alabama and some big moments, big plays late in that game. Since then, he's only had 4, 10, 0, 13, and 9 over the last 5 games. Those are point totals. He shot 40% or worse in all of them, including going 0 for 7 against TCU. He was 3 for 11 in the loss to Memphis, including some pretty good opportunities he missed late in that game. He's a guy, if he can get going, this is a Sweet 16 caliber team, and maybe more than that, but they really need him to be a big part of that. They can win without him. Can they be an Elite 8 kind of team without him? I don't think so. So really would like to see him get going. After Radford, they play on Wednesday against Miami. Then they're at home hosting North Carolina the following weekend before they go to Virginia Tech next Wednesday. So if it picks up real fast with a pretty tough start to ACC play after this. So hopefully they can pick up a win, finish non-conference play with just a 1 loss to Memphis would be, obviously a start better than anyone could have expected or predicted. So a lot of good stuff there on basketball. And one last note, I just watched today there's like a PJ Hall special on Clemson Plus. So if you're an IPDay member, you can just go to clemsonplus.com and they've got it's like, I think it was 18 minutes. So this is kind of a special on PJ Hall before Clemson, his time at Clemson. It's a lot about his relationship with Brownell, things he's went through with injuries, things like that. I thought it was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. I would recommend it. So as football season wraps up and you dive deeper into basketball, that's one recommendation I'll give to you. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Again, please like and subscribe to this video, and go Tigers.